Welcome to the Honest Health Podcast with your host, Jeffrey Burke. Honest Health brings you the brightest minds in the natural products industry, as well as athletes and entertainers. Jeff will keep you entertained and informed while educating on how to be successful on your healthy journeys. Now, here's your host, Jeffrey Burke.
Hello and welcome back to the Honest Health Podcast. My name is Jeffrey Burke. I am so glad you're back today. As you're seeing from my releases, I'm bringing you a plethora of amazing, incredible people. And many of them are great friends of mine. They're all peers, people that I've loved to work with, people that I've always wanted to work with, and people that I've been working with that I get to bring to this new platform. So I know you're going to really enjoy this. Remember to tell your friends, make sure they tune in. If they're not on LinkedIn and seeing the picture floating around in there of the logo, have them go to my webpage, drjeffreyburke.com. All they have to do is click on the Honest Health logo, and it'll take them to Spotify, or they can click on the YouTube logo. It'll take them to YouTube, to the page, and they can, visibly watch the interview and watch the interaction. I think it's kind of cool after being on the radio for 42 years and not having to have my face on here, so this is a good hair day. So we're trying to do it right today. So I got to talk to you about my amazing guest today. Sarah Burden, a longtime friend of mine, is my guest today. Sarah has worked in the natural products industry since 2002, moving from helping customers in the vitamin aisles in downtown Chicago to connecting with retailers across the greater Midwest as a brand representative, to roles as national educator for several well-known supplement brands. She's now vice president of sales for Radicle Science, a disruptive health tech company providing clinical validation for dietary supplements, supports research and development of effective formulations, and provides marketing insights to brands with the mission of making truly personalized nutrition a reality for everyone. A storyteller at heart, education has always been at the heart of her work. She wants to empower everyone to make choices that will help them lead happy and healthy lives. Help me welcome my guest. Hey there, how are you?
Hello, my friend. Thanks so much for having me, Jeffrey.
I'm so glad to have you here today. We both have seen amazing changes in the industry, and you've got 20 some odd years on your side. I'm in the mid 40s now, and I wish I was in my 40s. I'm at 40 years in the industry. I haven't seen 40s in
You
a
look
long time.
It's
It's a lighting. But so happy you're here today, because changes are happening all the way around us. The way we think, the way we look, the way we act, what we process, the information coming at us. But one thing that I've seen that in the industry, formulas are now being a little bit more focused, on certain groups and certain organizations. And I think that's really, really important. And, I'd love to kind of take this where you'd like to today. You have so much information, and I'd love to go wherever you'd like to go today on this.
Well, I always have fun talking with you, and we can always fill the time together.
True.
We've had many great long phone calls and great radio shows together. So yeah, I think it's true that customers today are more educated than many times in the past, and they want more personalized nutrition than in the past. Where maybe long ago it was common practice to have a one a day multivitamin that worked for everybody. Now we see for men and women over 40, for men and women over 55, for people who have special kinds of diets or considerations, healthy, active lifestyles, vegan lifestyles. So I think we are all wanting more personalized, custom nutrition. We all want to feel like the money that we're spending on our supplementation is worth it, is going somewhere, and is doing something for our bodies, right? I think we're so flooded with, anytime there's something that can be sensationalized in the media about, oh, CoQ10 doesn't actually do anything. Oh, it turns out maybe omega-3 is terrible for your heart, which goes against decades of established science, right?
Yep.
But gets sensationalized. I think we all like having something that feels validated for us, for our bodies. Don't you think?
I do. I agree 100%. And to your point, what I think was really important is the next step to this is how our one-on-one relationships, the way that people have kind of, the built industry, actually the mom and pops, the small chains, the small tiny stores where people went in and had conversations and they were presented with great alternatives and you had a conversation. It wasn't what was good for your neighbor, it was good for you. And
That's
these are the
right.
possibilities that I want to, recommend to you. That interaction is so priceless. And I
Mhm.
think what I've learned is that it's becoming more and more important because as we now, when I first started, there was no information. I mean, I had to go
Yeah,
to the research library. We had about a dozen authors, and the books I wanted to check out, they were research books. You couldn't even check them out. So if
right.
you didn't get there early enough to the library, you couldn't get anything done. But today, there's tons of information, but now we have to research the research because there's so much out there being said and we wonder, is it really being said? Is someone just giving us, an opinion? I love studies. I'm on PubMed all the time. I constantly read, but I think what's gotten to be more important is and I have a lot of them myself, personal interactions with people that I've worked with on a one-to-one who have really allowed me to be able to get to the healthy stage that I
Mhm.
needed to get to, but I couldn't have had that without those interactions. And, we have to remember, everybody's in the business to make money. Everybody's in the business to sell. Everybody's doing what they're doing. But what I love is when you walk in and they say, you have a lot of options. Which one
Mhm.
would you like to try? I can tell you about each of them. What do you think?
No, I agree. When we go to a new city for a vacation, the first thing I want to do is go to the independent health food store.
Mhm.
Luckily, my sweet husband is very accommodating. So he's been dragged to health food stores from coast to coast. But even when we were just in Manhattan last spring, the first thing I wanted to do was go to one of the kind of iconic, New York City health food stores with floor to ceiling racks. And I love the smell. I love the staff. I love the people who choose to work in health food stores as a career because you're right. They are a wealth of information.
Mhm.
They know the real deal and they know what's worked for customers over the years. There's sort of no better laboratory, right, than an independent health food store because those same people get to see when the products get returned if they don't work. So
Right.
then they're able to recommend the things that do work over and over for through the years for people. And today, the research that we do, like you were saying, it used to be in these kind of big tomes that you have to stay at the library to read. Now a lot of us are doing our research online and we have to be careful with AI. I was just talking to one of my colleagues at Radicle Science, Dr. Susan Hewlings. They tried using AI to pull some citations for something they were looking into, and the AI made up fake citations with fake PubMed numbers. They had to do deep dive to figure out that these were completely fraudulent manufactured citations that had no basis in reality, right? Versus going into that independent health food store, someone who's been working there for decades, who can say, this is what has helped people like you over and over through the years. I love that experience.
I was speaking to someone that I've been barking at them for years to get into natural alternative and building their body solutions, and they just have not come on board. And
Yeah.
so they decided on their own to try a bunch of things, and they were just clicking on internet and ordering things. And after like 6 months of ordering tons of things and none of it working, I finally told them, I said, there's a health food store 2 blocks from you. Please go there. I know these people, talk with them. So they did. So they went
Good.
down and they started talking with them. They called me back and they're like, oh my goodness, we were completely going in the wrong direction. We were just trying to do what everyone else was saying. After our conversation, we realized that we needed to kind of make it ours and deal with all the things that we've been dealing with and make it more, kind of pinpointed for the things we were trying to achieve. They're doing phenomenal. And now they're kicking themselves for all those years of not doing it. And I said, look, there is no going back. It's only going forward, but look where you are now. You're getting results. You're feeling better. You're seeing results. You're making changes where so many people, I wonder how many of them, try to click and just do something because they heard about it. And then they just say, well,
Mhm.
none of this works. And
And then
rather
they
than
think,
taking the next step, they don't.
and absolutely. That's always my worst fear, that someone opens up that trust to a natural product, but gets something that's not validated, that isn't formulated by somebody with integrity and has a bad experience. You're so much more gracious than I am, empowering people to think about, well, you can start from here, right? I'm more likely to really razz my friends. Like I just was talking to a guy friend at a barbecue. Here we are in the height of summer, right? And he showed me something he just ordered on his phone. He paid $69.99 a month for this product. And when I clicked through and looked at it, he had really been convinced by the targeted marketing he'd gotten. He was convinced he was going to lose 10 pounds a month, from this. And when I clicked through, it was just psyllium. Just psyllium. And then I pulled up and showed him from a local health food store. You could get a pound of that for about $8. It's a very inexpensive ingredient, but the marketing really, really got him. And I was like, please, next time, just text me. If you're about to add something to your cart online, just text me and I will steer you straight.
I know what's worked for me over the years, and I've seen the changes, and I've seen all the new additions and the new delivery systems over 40 some years. You see how things elevate, escalate, and kind of, mutate into different kinds of things. You're As a woman, you have your whole list of things, but you're also a mom.
Yes.
So, you not only have that experience, but you have the children, which I don't have. All mine have, hooves and claws and paws. So mine's a little bit different, but as a mom, you have that whole separate situation to deal with. Has your viewpoint of nutrition, let's say for children, has it changed?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I am way more scrupulous with the things I buy for my daughter. She's now getting into middle school age. And, I am looking even more closely at third-party certifications, clean ingredients, because it's going into her little body, as she's developing and growing up. Absolutely much, much more careful. No artificial colors, right? No synthetics. And so I definitely have a different lens. And I think a lot of moms are the ones in the position of buying products for most of their families. It's very common for dad, for kids, for the pets too, for all the supplementation for pets too.
Well, let me ask you a question. What has changed for kids? I know there's been a lot of different changes. There's a lot of different viewpoints. There's some amazing people out there doing research and studies that if we just listen a little bit, we can make huge changes.
Yeah, I think there are many more thoughtful formulations and ingredients being created right now. Me growing up as a Gen Xer, I think our only supplement option when I was growing up was Flintstones vitamins, right? I think that was the only thing that we had access to, unless your parents were really hippies and grew up giving you maybe, some propolis or bee pollen or something kind of groovy like that. But Flintstones vitamins were definitely the only thing in our cabinet that I was getting. And today there are more focused formulas for kids. We see more and more formulas being developed for anxiety for kids, whether that's an herbal tincture formula or, of course, gummies are so popular, but gummies that might be formulated to help support a kid, because we are definitely seeing, post-pandemic, the kids who kind of went through all of that, maybe having some nervous system dysregulation kind of challenges. And maybe it's just being diagnosed more. Maybe we've always had this many anxious kids and they were just forced to conform and sit in their seats. And now we have parents who are saying, hey, maybe I could support my kid's little immune system, nervous system, so that they don't have to suffer and feel this way. But formulas for immune support as well. Brain development. I think so many parents of my generation want to make sure that we're giving our kids as much nourishment as possible, to be able to provide the DHA for a little developing brain, even when they're infants. So yeah, there are absolutely a lot of cool choices right now.
We have some amazing people in the industry that are doing such amazing work. And, I love to give them call outs as well because of the things that they're doing. But, I think to myself sometimes, I was raised at a time when, you would get asked every meal, what would you like to drink, water or water? My plates were full of vegetables and salads and a little bit of protein and a little bit of starch. That's just the way it was. And we ate a lot of food, but, we also burned it off.
Right,
Kids
running
back
around.
then, you couldn't get them in the house. Kids today, you can't get them out of the house.
It's
We
so
didn't have
true.
technology. When we got sent to our room when we were kids, it was truly a punishment
Yeah.
because there was nothing in there but maybe a box of crayons, some Lincoln logs, and a rock polishing thing that you just spun around in circles. You know? So we didn't have. Today it's like, okay, well, it's just location. I can do everything I do out there and here. So kids are a lot different today, and the diets are terrible, and they're not getting any nutrition, and and you can't fuel your body and your mind. Supplements are not a luxury for anyone today, but especially kids.
Mhm.
because they're growing. These are formative years, and they're running their body on empty.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think just even with soil depletion,
Mhm.
even if you're a parent who's extremely careful, extremely thoughtful, cooking and preparing very whole food, rich, nutritious meals, the nutritional content of a carrot today versus a carrot that your grandparents grew on their farm, it
Mhm.
just doesn't hold a candle, right? The soil has been so stripped and depleted that even if you ate a perfect diet, you still have a nutritional gap. And so I think you're exactly right that the kids during these growing years need that nutrition so desperately, as do we as adults. I take my multi daily.
As a parent, today you really have to look at things a lot differently, because there was a time when vitamins weren't taken and we got everything food, but food was
Mhm,
better,
mhm.
and today, if you're not supplementing, I think you're kind of missing a chance for yourself as well as children to be able to, I hate to use the term, be all you can be, but that's really kind of what it's all about, because, and I really do think that the pandemic and the quarantine and the shut in and the homeschooling and parents that were suddenly having to teach. I mean, my
Mhm.
friends are telling me, they're like, I hated this when I was doing it, and now it's harder. They're like, remember that show, Am I Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? They're like,
Right.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I can't do this. I
Yeah.
don't know how they're doing it. And I
No.
mean, I felt terrible for the parents, that are trying to get it was just a terrible, terrible time, but we're seeing the results of it now.
I think so. Just the kind of those opportunities for socialization, and hey, there was kind of no good choice, right? We were all between a rock and a hard place and making the best decisions we could. But I think every parent going through that came away with way more respect for teachers. And I know locally here where I live, the teachers who are still doing remote school, oh my goodness, like my hat went off to them all day every day. We were sending gift cards, like just thank you for how hard you're working and how much more, just even over video, you have to kind of dial up all of your expressiveness to be more engaging. And they were having to do that all day, every day with kids who were just, you know,
Yeah.
in their jammies, not wanting to be there, not wanting to sit in front of the screen. So it was a tough time for everybody. But I think you're exactly right. That kind of that delta between the nutrition we need and what our food can provide, plus we don't move our bodies as much as previous generations. So the amount of calories we need for our current very sedentary lifestyle and what those calories worth of nutrition can provide, because the carrots aren't as rich in beta carotene and the spinach isn't as rich in iron, right? So we would have to eat so much more than we need in order to make up those nutrient gaps. And that's where that supplementation comes in. Putting aside even herbs and botanicals, which I just think, work in concert with our bodies, with our natural systems so much more beautifully, and are a great first step if I'm having some, issues where I need some support. I'm so glad that we have modern medicine for emergency situations. I'm so glad that we have it for those dire times, but for kind of those daily supportive, ongoing, chronic sort of lifestyle impacts, we have, nutrition support from botanicals and nutrients.
Well, I hate to even think that there's an issue that we have to be concerned about as far as quality and integrity in our industry, but we do.
Mm-hmm.
There are good actors and bad actors in every single industry. And, we've seen it in our industry as well. We have people that jump on bandwagons, jump on fads, and they may do it incorrectly, may do it, without proper labeling. And I think what it does is that it really kind of affords us the possibility, the chance, and the availability and the success of actually going back to mom and pop stores.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to a store where you can talk to someone who loves what they do and give you feedback, because not everybody's doing it the right way. And I hate more than anything for someone to try something from a company that may have cut corners,
Yeah.
may have used an inferior product,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the good companies, when they test things, if they don't test really good and they turn them down, those things are going somewhere. somebody are using them,
That's a great
so
point.
I think that companies, and there's so many beautiful companies in our industry that do it right, that are, successful, but they're honest, and they do the testing, and they do the third party, and to me that makes such a huge difference. But to be a parent today, to have kids and to have that general concern, you also have to have the trust of the place where you're getting the supplements that you're getting them, to know that you're going to make a difference, because first of all, supplements are expensive for us as well.
Mhm.
I don't want to waste my time and my money. I want to go somewhere where I can ask questions. Now, I travel all over the country. That's what I do. And as I'm traveling, I listen to conversations happening in aisles and stores.
Mhm.
There's so many wonderful people in this industry. You can just feel their passion. They love it. They love helping people. And I compliment that. I said, thank you for doing what you do and helping with that clarity. There was huge confusion there, and you corrected the confusion, and they walked out with, I get it now. Now it makes sense. And that's priceless to me. So let me ask you a question. Is being a parent and nutritionally guiding through diet and supplements and everything for the kids, is it harder today, do you think, it was maybe 20 years ago?
I think that's a great question. On one hand, we have more choices and almost information overload, which can be a challenge in and of itself, right? I happen to be the friend in my group of girlfriends who has done a lot of research on things like, when my daughter was littler, the car seat, right? I was reading all the reviews and cross comparing with like European standards and the NTSB standards. I mean, I just kind of went down a rabbit hole. And so I had a bunch of girlfriends who were like, I know you've done the research. Which car seat do I buy? And same thing with nutrition, same thing with food. And so there is more information and more choices. Like when my daughter was little, she didn't tolerate gluten and dairy. And there were ice cream choices for her. There were ice cream sandwich choices for her, gluten-free and dairy-free. That didn't exist 20 years ago. She just would have had to do without. So I was grateful for all the choices. But then it can require more diligence on the part of whoever is tasked with making those decisions. So it can be information overload, and sometimes we get analysis paralysis, right? It's too overwhelming. I can't choose. But so if you work with an independent health food store and they've already done the vetting for you, or even a regional chain with really high quality standards, they've done that vetting for you. So you can kind of know, okay, when I go into Mom's on the Eastern Seaboard, Fruitful Yield here in the Midwest, like I know that they've already done all the questioning and the scrutinizing. And so everything I can pick from here, I know is safe for my family. So that's such a relief for me as a mom.
Let me ask you a question on a personal note, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
because I've known all the things that you've done. I mean, we've been hip to hip for a lot of different things and
Yeah.
companies and tons of radio and all that. What you're doing now, how would you describe what you're doing today with Radical Science?
So I feel like it's been a natural progression of my time in the industry. I started out selling bottles of vitamins to customers in the aisle. I had my apron, I had my little note cards for the people I needed to call when their certain B formula came back in stock. And so learned a ton, right? My customers educated me so much. I got to hear from all the different brands. I went to every training I could go to. So I was selling vitamins to a person at a time. And then I moved on to selling vitamins to those retailers and national chains of retailers, and then educating the salespeople who went out to those retailers and chains, doing consumer lectures, things like that. And over the course of my career, in the last two roles I was in, I was lucky enough to get to find out more about clinical research that was being done for each of those brands on their finished formulas, which is unusual, but very needed. And I asked as many questions as I could just because I found it fascinating. And I found that so many brands don't do it. It's so valuable. And it really does give insights about the formula as a whole, because a well-crafted supplement company might choose an ingredient that on its own has research. But do we have the insights that when you put this maybe very researched form of ashwagandha with some complementary ingredients, maybe you're adding some B vitamins to support nervous system health and stress support, maybe you're adding some other great botanicals, does that still work the same way as it did in the research when just that ingredient was administered by itself? And the question that the FTC has been asking is, do you really have proof for that? Because we know there are synergies, but there are also antagonistic effects. And so when I saw that Radicle Science was this kind of disruptive, innovative platform using technology to bring the cost down, make it within reach for all supplement brands and ingredient suppliers to get finished formula testing to say, yes, we know that when you take this ingredient plus these are the effects that men have, that women have, that younger people have, that women over 40 have, that women over 40 who also smoke, who are very sedentary, who have a BMI of this or higher, this is the kind of results that they have. And this is really what gets us to that personalized wellness that we've been talking about. So the fact that the technology can bring the pricing down so that more brands can do this, I had to be a part of it. I see such a need for it, not only for the assurance for me as the shopper, as the choosy mom who wants to pick a formula that I know works, but just for advancing our whole industry so that we can keep rewarding formulations and brands that do work, that do invest in that science and the proof, the evidence that it's working. And so we can have those thoughtful formulations. There could be 2 ingredients, great example, turmeric and ashwagandha. I've been told this by a number of different Ayurvedic practitioners, both incredible ingredients. When taken together, they actually have an antagonistic effect, right? So it could be with the best of intentions that a brand puts together, hey, ashwagandha for stress, turmeric for inflammatory support, but turns out not great at the same time. Calcium and magnesium, so many formulations have them together. They're competing for receptor sites. Is it the best to take them together, or would it be more helpful to take them at different times of day? So we really need more human clinical research to be able to bear that out.
I love it. It's brilliant. And it's really, really important. And, and I'm sure that consumers would love to know, that extra level of testing is done. And, it's really true because, what happens is, if you're a formulatory and you get like 7 or 8 different products and you get them in, you test them. You test them for heavy metals, you test them for bacteria, fungus, all that kind of stuff. If they test clear, they'll go into a holding center that's climate controlled and all that stuff. They may pull them out 6 months later. They check it again because things happen when it's stored. They check it good. They may put it back. This may happen 3 or 4 times. So then they have the day when they're going to put them all together and introduce them all. So they've got them lined up. They're formulating a run. Everything is good. I mean, they're all going in clean and fine, but we don't know how they're getting along. It's like all the new kids' first day of school.
Right. Do they play well in the sandbox together?
Yeah, do they? And I mean, doing that end product testing is really, because you know what went in. You know how you felt about them. You had a high opinion of everyone, and they're separately, they all love each other. But if you're mixing them all together, is that end result yielding exactly what you thought it would yield, or is it changing it? And to use your word, antagonistic, which I think is really important. So I think this is really, really vital. Have you been surprised by some of the research?
Yeah. So within the supplement world, the placebo effect is very strong. That people who are willing to take a supplement tend to be people who believe that supplements will work, right? So there's sort of a self-selection thing that happens. If they don't think that they'd work at all, maybe they don't sign up to be a participant. So we always have to account for a really high placebo effect. And it's really interesting to see across different types of studies that effect can be stronger. It's interesting for me to see how fast some of the studies recruit, that people are so desperate for sleep solutions. Those fill up, quickly, right? So that has been interesting to me. But what we've learned is that, even great companies having put a lot of thought into a formulation may not see that the product is as effective as they're looking for. And so our best, most ethical partner brands have taken that information and said, back to the drawing board. Okay, we had 120 milligrams of this hero ingredient. Looks like we need 160. Maybe we need 200, right? And so we can even enable those kinds of tests with multiple levels of ingredients so that a company can bring the most effective formula to the market and get those kinds of insights. So I think that's the best way to approach it, is looking at all the data is good data. I want to know how to bring the most effective products to the market for consumers. And I want to know who has better results. There was a brand we just were talking to the other night, and it was a formula for everyone, but women in menopause, it hit it out of the park. And we were all so thrilled to see that, because what an important demographic. There's getting to be more attention on women in menopause, more products being formulated for that. And we were like, you guys, look, this is a home run for women in this target market. And so where they were initially maybe planning to launch a product for everyone, well, now they can certainly narrow absolutely and have really, really high efficacy in this important demographic.
Well, and I think obviously the mindset is going to be like, well, okay, now we know it's not working. We have to go back to the drawing board. Yes. But you also now have the information to work with,
That's
and you
right.
know what to do, what to tweak, what to raise, what to lower, what to
Oh,
balance.
exactly. You're
Because
not
now you can put out something that, wow, really does. And
absolutely.
someone says it really works. You can say, yes, it does.
That's
And
right.
I love that.
Yeah. You don't have to fly blind to make those decisions. So the best time for us to work with a brand is during the R&D product development phase. That's the ultimate time to work with somebody. But many of our brand partners do come to us when they have a finished formula that's been on the shelf. We can certainly help then as well. But we have multiple shots on goal if you can come to us when you're in the development stage, because we could tweak. We've also seen the opposite happen, where a brand was planning to commercialize, but they explored multiple doses. They were able to put in less of a costly ingredient because people still got incredible results. They didn't need to give them multiple capsules a day. So then, of course, your compliance will be higher. People will be happier getting the same amount of benefit with fewer pills per day, right? So then everyone wins.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
it's an amazing industry. It's constantly changing. It's evolving. We are, we're going through our metamorphosis, if you will. We're constantly, every time I get cocky and think I know it all, I don't. I get that rude awakening, and you're like, you best read something,
Right.
because it changes so fast. And, things that I talked about decades ago, it's all obsolete now because of science and changes. And look at delivery systems, everything was a tablet. Now we've got capsules and soft gels and tinctures and liposomals. And,
Yep.
there's so many choices, and not everything is for everyone.
Right.
And I think it's really important. I'll give you a good example of this. I have 5 friends of mine, women, all big CEOs, top of big corporations in Las Vegas, where I live. And I'll meet them every, once a year, twice a year for lunch. And I met them, it was about a year or so ago. It was right toward the end of the pandemic. And all 5 of them decided they wanted to go on a weight loss program. So they all picked the same program, the same exercises, and the same supplements. Now, they're all coming from different places, different times, and all this. So we met about 3 months later. Like, one lost like 10 pounds. One lost a pound. One lost 2 pounds. The other 2 gained.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't understand. I said, you can't all do the same thing. I said,
Right.
let's have a one-on-one. I'll get you to the finish line, but you might have to follow a different protocol, a different road to get there. So I counsel them all differently. They were all completely different. So I made recommendations. So a couple months later, they were all like 20, 25 pounds down. They're doing fantastic.
Oh, wow.
But they understood that not everything is for everyone. We hear something at the office. You hear something and you're riding on a bus, or you hear something pops up on your social media, and you read it and you're like, ooh, I want that. That sounds so good. Yes. But is it for you?
Right.
That's where having those conversations really makes a difference.
Absolutely. No, it's great. What a great resource your friends have in you to help steer them so that they don't keep getting discouraged, right?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you another question. What do you think has been the biggest change in our industry? And thank you so much for your company, because I think that's really, really important. Radicle Science they're doing something. They're doing something astounding, and they're not just making things better. They're also making peace of mind with the consumer, as well as peace of mind of the formulatories and the companies, knowing that
That's
their products are going to make a difference. So thank you for that. And thank you to your company for what you're doing for the industry. What is the biggest change you've seen in our industry, let's just say in the last 5 years?
What a good question. Well, that's a tough one to answer too. I would say, I think that just continuing on that theme that we've been talking about, that continued push towards personalization, within a clinical trial, they say the N size, the number of people in the trial. And so that idea of the N of one, I want this to be totally customized just for me. And there's more and more ability to do tests at home, kits that you can get at home to find out your microbiome, your digestive, quirks, and people have access to their DNA and they can take it through websites to see, oh, you don't methylate your B vitamins. So it's not worth it for you to buy any B complex that's not methylated, right? And so people can start getting that feedback more and more at home. Their omega-3 finger prick test, so you can see, does your omega-3 score go up during the time that you take this omega-3 supplement? So I think access to that kind of feedback, continuous glucose monitors becoming, available without prescription. So people are really able to see, with supplements, with food choices, with, even moving your body right after you eat. That's something that we actually talk about a lot as a company, that, getting up and moving for 10 minutes after we eat a meal, that how much less insulin will be produced and how much more regulated our blood sugar will be. So I think that kind of feedback and insight for me, from my body, and I don't think that's going to go away. I don't think we're going to see the tide turn back to kind of a generic blast of, this works for anyone. People want those quizzes and tests and monitoring, the Aura Ring, right? All kinds of different gadgets to monitor and know what I'm taking works for me, is moving the needle for me. I can see those metrics and I know that I'm investing wisely in my health.
I thought that I was getting enough omega-3s and enough vitamin D until I had my test done.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out my vitamin D was like, it was nowhere to be found. It was like out to lunch.
Yes.
So, I was taking 2,000 IUs a day, international units a day. So my doctor moved me up to 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. And my omega-3s were not even close. So I tripled my dosage.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my blood done the next time, everything was really good.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, I thought personally that I was doing it right, but I wasn't, because I'm guessing on something on the inside of my body that I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
If we all had a check engine light in the middle of our forehead, I'm sure most people would be red, but it would be able to say something's not right, and maybe it would make us, because look what we do when it happens in our car. We instantly panic and want to do something. Please just make this go away.
Mm-hmm.
Make this light go off. But how we've gotten, people are just going to wear hats and cover them up. So, but I wish I would have known, but I found out by mistake. So now I've adjusted. So these testing, to your point, brilliant, because it gives us a better idea. We can't see it. It's not on our skin. It's not external. Mm-hmm. It's going on the inside, but these are tiny changes, and like not being able to methylate. That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Methylated B vitamins, that's what I use.
Game changer.
The fact that I need them and I know the difference. I never felt a B complex my whole life until I took a methylated B complex.
Same.
And I was just like, what? Wow. This is really great.
Mm-hmm.
All these years of taking the other ones, and finally I moved over to the methylated Bs, and I'm like, okay, I get this.
Now I can tell.
I love the idea of this, because if you're going to take the time and you're going to spend the money and you're going to focus on getting healthy, being healthy, staying healthy, and doing all these good things, we should utilize testing. We should utilize the people that have made this their life and have the passion to work with us and talk with us. And we should choose our supplements wisely. There's a lot of amazing companies in this industry, and I love them. We have bad actors, like everybody does. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we have a lot of people that are very passionate. So don't just take something to take something. Because sometimes something is not better than nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So choose wisely. And if you can only afford a really good, high quality multiple vitamin, so be it.
Yeah.
And then when things get better, you can bring in a probiotic or a vitamin D or magnesium or greens or an enzyme. Do it when you can. But, ask questions. I search out all the time. I'm like, you have a store 2 blocks from you. Go talk with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. We've got the testing with your company. We've got the conversations in the health food stores. We've got companies that are, hopefully utilizing your services and learning what everything and how it's working and how it is when it's done. Is it ready? Is it complete? Is it doing what we think it's doing?
That's right.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I'll tell you what. I thank you so much for being here today. What an absolute pleasure. And thank you for sharing the information. Thank you for sharing personal information as well about your family. How wonderful. Let's leave everyone with a thought of the day. It can be anything you want to leave everybody with, but something when they hear the end of the show, they're going to say, Sarah said that. It hit home.
Well, I certainly didn't originate this thought, but one that does really resonate for me is, a year from now, you'll wish you had started today. I know it could sound pat, it can sound trite. It's definitely not an original thought, but it's one that does seem like really resonant for me, because those small changes, just, getting to my 10,000 steps a day, right? Those incremental changes do make a difference. And so a year from now, you will wish you had started with some small change today.
I love it. My guest, Sarah Burden, thank you for being here today.
My
Always
pleasure.
a pleasure to have you. Fantastic, as always. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm sure you did. How could you not? She's such a delight and just full of information. Make sure you tell your friends to tune in. This platform is really important to me. Many of you have been listening to me for over 4 decades, and I brought you the best of the best information, so you can make very wise decisions, because it's too easy just to jump and make a decision that may not be the best one for you. So I want you to have the information from the best minds in the industry, and that's why I'm bringing to you. So tell your friends, go to my webpage, drjeffreyburke.com, click on the Honest Health logo. It will take you directly to Spotify. You can listen to the audios. You can also go to the YouTube logo, click on that. It'll take you right to the conversation. You can watch us interacting. It's kind of fun. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's all about getting healthy, being healthy, and staying healthy. And I want to continue to make sure that you have every tool available to be able to be the best you can do. Have a great day, everyone. Make sure you take care, and God bless.
Stay tuned for more information from the Honest Health Podcast with Jeffrey Burke. And make sure to check back often for interviews and conversations from the guests we all want to hear from. I'm John the Announcer. Thanks for listening.